Athletes and Scholars, Alex Alonso and FG, here to bring you guys another banger. And I'm here once again with Frank Thornton, aka the Eastside General. How's it going over there, man?
Yeah, what's going on with you, Alex? How your day going?
Oh, everything's good, man. How's work? How's family? How's the week going?
Man, week going off good, man. You know, work is work. Over here dealing with my daughter. She trying to figure out which college she going to attend, and it's nerve wracking for her. You know what I mean? Because she want to stay close to home, but sometimes, man, like I say, you got to get out there and go do your thing.
What do you suggest?
Well, I would like her to be close to home. That's the last one. That's my baby. And but I want her to be happy. I want her to be comfortable. She want to go to a school with sports, of course. You know what I mean? Baseball, basketball, football. But at the end of the day, she know the education part of it is more important than anything. So we gonna definitely be racking our brain this year. She going on a tour to U of A this weekend, University of Arizona, and go check out that campus and just see what she think about it. She got UC Santa Barbara, UC Riverside, UCSD, so just trying to see what she gonna do, man.
Yeah, that University of Arizona, it's a beautiful campus, but it's a very hot state. Can she deal with the high temperatures?
I don't even think she took that into consideration yet, which I'm definitely going to have to reiterate to her because I'm glad you brought that up, bro, because I used to be out there every weekend when I used to, have my truck and delivering cars out there. Oh, bro, it gets hot, bro. I mean, it gets hot. And that's something that she may not even can anticipate. So I'm glad you brought that up, that I got to really run that back by her. And because it gets so hot out there, man, it's like ridiculous.
It's like Palm Springs hot for those who
hell
been to
yeah.
Palm Springs. I love
Who
Palm
don't know?
Springs
Yeah.
though. But every time I go to Palm Springs, let's say between now and September, it's over 100 degrees, and that's normal.
Oh, no doubt. Even in the middle of the night, I be out there all the time, like I said, in the summer, delivering gas to Costco and things of that nature. Oh man, it's 105 at midnight. You know what I mean? So they got some beautiful cities out there, Indian Wells, and things of that nature. But man, it's just so hot out there. I don't see how they do it actually.
I can't see how white folks be walking around at 105, 110 temperature all day long.
I mean, and like you say, and that's every day, because it get up into the 115s, 116s out that way. And they seem like that. I don't see how you could ever get used to that, but I guess they do, you know what I mean? But like you say, I'm glad you put that in my ear because I did forget to even throw that in that, I don't think she's felt nothing like that, especially on a daily basis for months at a time. So appreciate
And
that.
then over there at that Santa Barbara campus, if she got an issue with raccoons, because at nighttime the raccoons be running around that campus like 10 deep.
Man, I heard about that. You know what I mean? And one thing she can't do is run. So hey, man, so hopefully she
No, they leave.
but like I said, I just
They
want
leave the students alone.
yeah, I just wanted to go, do what's best for her and get the best you know, uh chances for her, you know what I mean? So she can go get an education, man, and enjoy life a little bit, get that experience.
I think at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't really matter what university you go to. Yeah, there's a little bit of prestige when you go to the high ones. But I remember just talking to my daughter the other day. She goes to USC, and after being there a couple years, she's just like, no big deal.
No, no doubt, no doubt. My other daughter, she goes to a smaller school, but she loves it. It fits her personality perfect, And I'd even asked her once, I said, you think you're going to transfer after a couple of years? She's like, Dad, I love it here, so, like you say, sometimes you get that big school prestige, but sometimes, man, that right fit is even better than that big time prestige, You could always, go to a football game at another campus or, like you say, drive over to UCLA or USC and go watch a basketball game, but, if it feel right and you feel comfortable, that I think that's the best way you're going to get the most out of it when you comfortable.
No doubt, man. So good luck with that. I mean, it's just a blessing to have our kids even getting higher education and being able to attain these degrees and hopefully go out there in the real world and create a career for themselves and put their stamp on society.
No, no doubt, and that's exactly what I want them to do. But what I do want to reiterate, Alex, is of course, you and the listeners know I was gone for some times, man, and I do believe, man, that two-parent household, bro, just really makes a difference, Alex. I'm not saying that a single mom can't do it or a single dad can't do it, but I definitely see the difference in when I was gone with my older boys until when I was home with my younger kids. It's definitely a difference all the way around, man, and confidence and just the support they have. So you know those out there listening, man. I mean, if you can make it work at the house, and be in the house with the kids. I know sometimes you can't, but if you can, man, it make a difference, bro.
Definitely, man, and you doing that prison stint almost a damn near decade when you was in your early 30s. I think it's fair to say you was probably done with going to prison because you already did it a couple times in your 20s, and if it wasn't for what happened to you in your 30s, you probably would have never even touched another prison yard again, and that would have been a different outcome for your kids. That's why this topic that we've talked about many times about someone informing on you and you getting sent to prison for almost a decade has all kind of ramifications, including what the impact on children.
Yeah, they don't get that part. I could see sometime in the comments or sometimes, with the listeners, they don't get that part that, you know what I mean? It's just not somebody, just, like you say, going to do some time and coming back home, man. It alters your complete life, the life of your kids, life of your loved ones, and it definitely, man, alters what could have been and what could happen as far as the success in your life. I'm 100% sure that if I wouldn't have did that last bid, bro, I would definitely be a lot more successful in life. Not that I'm complaining, but I would definitely be a lot more smarter, a lot more brighter, a lot more, ahead of the curve than I am now, man. And also my older kids, I think my older kids took the brunt force of that stint. You know what I mean? Not having a father between, ages 12 and 20, bro, that hurt, so yeah, that's why I be so serious about informants. But at the same time, a lot of people think that I just walk around looking on YouTube trying to find out who a rat or not. That's not my goal. I don't know everybody's situation, but if I ever get it, I won't hesitate to call a rat a rat. That's just what it is. But at the same time, man, it does take a toll on the family as well when motherfucker inform on you.
Hey, somebody left a comment since you brought up the topic of rats. Somebody brought up a comment and said that I need to get Mob James and FG on the show together, and I was just like, that's hilarious. Like that's almost slim to never gonna happen because the first barrier to that is Mob James has never admitted to anything. So right there, that ends any sort of reconciliation or bringing you two guys together for a discussion because the guy's in denial up until this day, man. Did you see that comment?
I don't think I saw that one, but at the same time, this is what they don't understand. Exactly what you said. You know what I mean? The thing about it, homie, is what I mean. I'll get on this motherfucker with James if he came and said, man, FG, homie, I had a lot of love for you. I apologize. You know what I mean? Not saying we'll be cool. Not saying I wouldn't want to knock his ass out if I saw him. You know what I mean? But, at the end of the motherfucking day, it's been so long. You know what I mean? I'm not, like I said, I'm not, he not even on my radar as far as like, somebody I'm looking for or somebody, I'm going on with my life. You know what I mean? But if he wanted to come on this motherfucker, say, FG, man, you know what? I fucked up 20 years ago, homie. My bad, homie. Then I would be able to have a conversation with him, but I would also have a lot of questions that he wouldn't be comfortable with answering. You know what I mean? Like, homie, since I was such a good homie on the turf on the east side over there, I helped a lot of motherfuckers. I aided a lot of motherfuckers in the trenches, homie. I put in a lot of work with homies. Why me? You feel me? So, but if he was willing to come on and have that conversation right there, shit, tell him he more than welcome. And let's get this thing out the way. Because at the end of the day, like I say, I reiterate, I ain't looking for nobody, homie. I'm living my life. I'm doing what the fuck I'm doing. I'm riding my Harley. I'm trying to get my last daughter off to college, which I already got two in college, I'm really trying to miss a whole lot of the bullshit because I know me. I haven't changed. I'm in actuality, Alex, I'm still the same person. I still get a motherfucker ass if you come my way with the bullshit. But at the end of the day, that's not my mission. So like I say, if him or any other body want to get on here, discuss some hot topics, you know what I mean? Bring it on, homie. We on here, streets and scholars.
Well said, well said. And if that conversation is ever a possibility, I would love to facilitate it. If Mom James is open to that, I would even love to facilitate it jointly between Street TV and Bomb First. I would even consider that if FG was open to that. But of course, he's got to admit what he did in order to have that conversation, in order to have that dialogue, and he has yet to do it. But we'll move on. We're definitely going to tap in with this Praz Michelle story, since we're talking about snitches and informants. Praz from the Fugees is just had a trial. The jury is currently deliberating on his case. It looks like he might be going to prison. I want to tap in with you, FG, on a story we talked about last week. Teacher Xaviera, she was actually charged. We both didn't think she would be charged, but she was charged.
Right.
Also, the 2 cops from Torrance have been charged with a manslaughter. And lastly, a gang member from Indiana, acting a fool in Florida, killed an Uber Eats driver. His name is Oscar Solis, and we'll tap in with that as well. But let's start off with, we talked about Coolio. Coolio, right from your neck of the woods. Did you know Coolio was from the Mona Park area in Compton?
You know what? I actually didn't. You know what I mean? I remember the Coolio movement, man. He had some hits back in the day with the Voyage and all that, man. And never knew that. Yeah, I never knew that.
You know what it is? I didn't know it while he was an artist and while he was doing those hits. I learned it years later because he never rapped about it.
Right. And usually rappers gonna put their neighborhood or put at least, the demographics of where they from in their music. I never knew that, actually. Yeah.
But Gangsta Paradise is probably his most popular song. That's from 1995, and we talked about him passing a few months ago, but they never explained what happened to him. We kind of knew what it could have been, and it turns out what we always thought it was. The report just came out earlier this month, man. Fentanyl overdose, accidental fentanyl overdose, man.
Man, that's going on a lot right now, man. And it's unfortunate that, with all the education that we have about this shit, like I say, Alex, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I can't take a Tylenol from a motherfucker that I ain't 1,000,000% sure about. You know what I mean? So, but I do know that these people, sir, I got little homies all that party all the time, homie. I hear they out there snorting this powder, all over LA, Compton, Watson, the rest of the United States. They popping these perks, man, and they party drugs to these dudes, been going on in Hollywood for 100 years, man, but now it's just, how do you know that your Coke or your pill ain't laced? You don't. So in order to preserve your life, I mean, how much is your life worth? Maybe you just got to stop, bro. Maybe, I'm not advocating drinking, but I haven't heard fentanyl and drinking yet. When I hear that it's in Patron, coming in Patron bottles, then I may have to reevaluate my situation. But yes, it's tragic, man. I hated to hear that, but he's one of many that we done lost behind accidental fentanyl overdose.
Yeah, homeboy was 59 years old. I actually met Coolio in Vegas. I was in the elevator in the Palms Hotel, a hotel off the Strip. And
yeah, I remember the Palms.
Yeah, and I jumped in the elevator to go to my room, and Coolio was in there, and I was like, "Yo, Coolio!" I actually tried to see if he would do an interview with me, but he was he was in his party mode at that moment.
Right.
But 59 years old, accidental overdose, and what's gonna happen when we start hearing that the marijuana, the Kush, the chronic, the Kush, all the different strains are laced with fentanyl?
Well, I've heard some is, it probably haven't hit the street heavy yet, but I seen a news review that stated that they have found some marijuana with fentanyl lacing in it. That's wild. My whole point is this: as an ex-drug dealer, I want the customers to be able to come back. You know what I mean? And spend some more money. Pfizer do it. Every company, every business in the world, they market and promote, do commercials because they want their customers to come back. I don't understand the fentanyl epidemic or pandemic because you don't come back from the shit. You can't come back and buy another dose. You can't come back and so I don't get this drug that's being distributed across the world, and it's killing people by the hundreds of thousands. I don't get it. You know, you losing. I mean, it sounds fucked up, but you losing customers. You know what I mean? And so why would that even be on the street? So I don't get it. I don't get it, bro.
Now the report said that he had asthma. He had a slight heart problem, but he also
Hmm.
had PCP in his system. And I
Damn.
wonder if it was the PCP that had fentanyl in it. I thought it was going to be cocaine, but from what I was reading here, he had PCP in his system, but he also had fentanyl. So I'm unaware of the water being laced with fentanyl. You know anything about that?
Yeah, man, not at all. You know what I mean? Haven't heard that one yet. That's new to me. But damn, 59 and you still hitting the Sherm stick, bro. I mean, damn. You know, seemed like you would have toned it down just a little bit. That Sherm is some powerful shit. But yeah, I haven't heard of PCP being laced with anything because I didn't think it needed to be. You know, the shit's strong enough to knock an elephant down. So I mean, I guess he got a bad batch or something. I don't know, bro, but that's tragic.
Yeah, man. I remember, the first time I ever heard of fentanyl had to be about maybe 2017. I had a homeboy ask me if I had any painkillers because he had his back was killing him, and I said I don't have any, but I know someone that does. And he said, "Can you tap in?" I said, "Sure." And then he called me back and said, "Make sure these pills don't have fentanyl." And I was like, "What do you mean? What are you talking about fentanyl?" I had never heard of it, but he was already on
Hmm.
top of it. He was like, "I need real Vicodin. I don't want no fentanyl." And I was like, "I don't even know what you're talking about." This is maybe what, 17, 18, and now we hear about it every day in the
Hmm.
news.
No, no doubt. You know what I mean? It's definitely out there. You know, for people that don't know, they really do distribute this through hospital medications and pain medications within hospitals in the medical field. It's not something that's just totally, unused in medical society. You know, they use it to this day in the hospital, but they know how to administer it. From what my understanding is, from what I done heard in the streets, is that the people who use the fentanyl extravenously, which mean they use a needle to shoot it in their veins, they don't overdose. You know what I mean? Because it's they know how much to shoot, and I guess they can feel a certain feel to know when to stop. Is when they putting it in the pills and putting it in everything else that people are overdosing because they not knowing the dosage that they have. So I do know 100% that it's users out there that's using it on the street and they're not dying because they know how to administer it to themselves. But when you get a pill or you get a line and it's just far too much, that's when the ODing is coming. And, it's a shame that, I mean, I don't advocate doing drugs. I've never been a hell of a drug user. I smoked weed and all that 15 years ago, 16 years ago. But it just seems like, man, how do you be careful that your Coke don't have it in it? How do you know that your perks don't have it in it? It just it's crazy, man.
Yeah, maybe somebody got to come out with a fentanyl testers, and they could test their
Right. Because
pills.
this shit, yeah, you got to put it up under some kind of little baby microscope or something before you do your drugs, man. But I mean, you losing life. You're not losing, you losing life behind this, So
My one of my sons said that some of the kids in high school, these teenagers, they're aware of the fentanyl, and some of them don't mind it because of the type of high. They're willing to take that risk.
right, that's what I'm saying. There's people out here that's using it that's been getting by, but you have to know the amount to administer to yourself in order to not die. It's a reason people are taking it. It's a reason people are using it. It's a reason, but my whole point about it is, even like back in the day with the Sherm, you smoke too much of that shit, you'll go crazy. You know what I mean? So I think everything was portioned out. You can only take so much. I mean, you can only snort so much cocaine. You know what I mean? You can only smoke so much crack before your chest busts or something. You know what I mean? I mean, so everything has its limits, bro. But at the same time, you don't know what the limit is to fentanyl. You don't know what the dosage is in each pill. You don't know what the dosage is in each line. So I don't give a damn how good it felt. If those are my odds, I can't take them odds, Alex.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, man. Rest in peace to Coolio, man. I would say definitely L.A. Compton hip hop legend, and unfortunately, we lost another one, man. All right, let's uh, let's move on to the teacher, man. The teacher, Xaviera Steele. We talked about this teacher last week. We played the video of her fight. We felt like she was completely in line because she was defending herself against the student, but the local sheriffs there in North Carolina charged her with a simple assault. You sent me that link, and I was shocked, man. What was your first reaction to finding out about that?
Man, I was like, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? The teacher can't defend herself, you know. But what I do know in certain areas of certain demographics, the courts are charging both people in a fight. Back in the day, you know, even at the domestic violence level, when you somebody called the police and say they're fighting over there at that house, they usually just come take the husband. You know what I mean? Now husbands can say, my wife hit me, and they'll come take her as well. Or if they find out both of y'all hit each other, I've seen them actually take both of them. You know, so they are doing different things in fights nowadays, you know, by charging both of the parties because they actually trying to put an end to it. You know, usually it's whoever tell first or whoever say they got beat up the worst, you know, they the next person go to jail or the next person get the case. So what I believe they doing now is evening it out. And like if it was a fight, we not gonna just charge one person. We gonna, you know, reprimand both people. It's a simple assault. I don't believe that it may stick to their record. It may be a something where you do a little community service or something. We'll wipe it out. Or if you give us a year on probate, or a year with no more trouble, we'll just, you know, clean it off, you know. But at the same time, I don't think she should have been charged, period. Just to be honest with you.
And what's interesting is that a lot of people are kind of mixed on this story. Some people say she should have never laid hands on a 14-year-old girl, and others completely support her doing it. In fact, the people that support her have set up a GoFundMe for, for the substitute teacher, and the GoFundMe has raised $12,000 for her already.
Damn. Yeah. That's what's up. But I mean, you know, when you talk, see, but this is the thing we go back to, Alex. We go back to respect. We go back to home training. You know what I mean? And you know, like I say, you know, it goes back to you, a father being in the home, a mother having, you know, a strong man by her side to help teach the kids. You know, no way in the world would one of my younger kids would have took it this far with the teacher. They would have called me, called their mom. Wouldn't have tried to swing on the teacher, wouldn't have tried to do certain things, you know, let us come handle it, you know. So it goes with home training as well. And damn, 12,333. It goes with home training as well though, Alex. So, you know, this comes down, you know, from the parents, you know, what kind of child is you? Because she took off on the teacher, bro.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You know, teacher blocked it and all that, but you know, ain't nobody finna let nobody, especially a black woman, ain't let nobody just swing on her and, you know, and just don't do shit. So I mean, I understand it both ways. Like I said, I feel the teacher still could have did it different, you know, to de-escalated the situation, but it went like it went. I believe that in court, you know, they may come out with some, you know, simple something. The school district is saying that depending on the outcome of her court proceedings, they gonna observe if they're gonna keep her or not, but they haven't fired her yet. So we gonna see. Or the agency that she works for to do the substitute teaching, they haven't fired her. They just said we gonna wait to the end of our proceedings to see what we gonna do, you know, with her career in the future.
Well, a lot of people here are supporting Miss Steele. I agree with this first comment on the GoFundMe page by Alicia Hernandez, where she writes, teachers should be allowed to defend themselves. My best friend is a teacher, and she deals with violence in the classroom. Betty Bryan says, you did the right thing. Students need to be taught respect and not allowed to inflict harm on teachers without consequences. And I agree with you, FG, 100%. She learned whatever she learned at home. I'm talking about the young student who we don't know her name.
Right.
She learned that behavior at home, and nobody taught her about not crossing the line, especially at school and with elders. Obviously, the teacher right. is an elder to that student, and she didn't respect it. So I'd be shocked if any of my kids my daughter or my two sons will ever lay hands on a teacher. I'd be disappointed. I'd beat my kid if they ever did something like that. But I'm almost 100% certain they would never do anything like that because they were taught
No
better.
doubt. Right. No, exactly. So, like I say, some of this was home training. Some of this was, lack of parenting. Lack of guidance and support within this kid structure. So it's unfortunate that this situation came to it. I'm sure that this situation happened more than often, and we just getting wind of this one on TV and things of that nature. But they need to make better decisions, man.
Yeah, we know this happens often. It's just not always captured on video. And on this GoFundMe, the goal was to raise 10,000, and they're already at 12,300. And I'm gonna put a link to the GoFundMe page if anyone wants to support Xaviera Steele. And I hope that she comes out victorious in this case with not even a misdemeanor conviction. I don't think she deserves
No doubt.
any sort of conviction.
I'm with you on that. No reprimand at all. Just an understanding that these situations can happen in these schools, and go out there and do your job. She's out here trying to teach these kids something, or stand in for the teacher that's off to teach these kids something, man. And one thing about teachers is I commend them, man. It's not an easy job.
Yeah, and it's a low paying, difficult task, and it's just like when the police are doing their thing, and we're going to talk about a police story. A lot of times people want to defend the cops. They got a tough job. Why are we doing this to this teacher? Why is this teacher even facing any sort of charge? It is absolutely unacceptable, and I'm disappointed in the DA over there in that county. All right.
No doubt. I'm gonna ride with you on that one.
Okay, well, let's transition into this this story about the two Torrance cops. The two Torrance cops that were just recently charged with the killing of Christopher DeAndre Mitchell back in 2018. Now, these two cops were just charged the other day. What year are we in now? 2023. That's 5 years. That's 5 years.
Yeah, that's 5 years.
Okay, now this happened under Jackie Lacy, though. It was a different DA. We now have George Gascon, and George Gascon reopened this case. And that's why it's so important who the DA in your county is, because Jackie Lacy actually cleared these officers of any wrongdoing, but now they reopened it, and both these officers, Matthew Concannon and Anthony Chavez, have been charged with manslaughter.
Yeah, no doubt. But that's the thing about it. These politicians come in. Everybody had different agendas or different things that they want to push when they come in. I've dealt with the Torrance Police Department before. I actually beat them once. They are, what they are, bro. You know what I mean? And they even lied when I called a case out there. They lied and got caught lying. And the thing about it is, they had the video to this situation where this young man seemed like he was cool as a mug, was complying with everything they were saying. Soon as they saw the it was an airsoft rifle. They pretty much just blasted him away. I don't think they should be facing manslaughter charges. Me personally, I think they should be charged with murder. Even if it's second degree. But they aired this kid out, man. And like Gascon came in and said he saw discrepancies back in 19. No, he wasn't the DA at the moment, but he saw some discrepancies, and it's a few other cases out there that he may bring charges on. Some of the police unions and things of that nature are an outrage based on his 5 years old, and they bringing it back up. But I think it's the right thing to do, man, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I went to the press conference when the family talked about these recent arrests, and they said exactly what you said. This is they wanted first degree murder. Of course, the family wants first degree murder, but
right.
But it's probably somewhere between a second degree murder, maybe a manslaughter. But they lied and said that he was reaching for that.
At my point,
for that, what was it? An air gun?
Yeah, airsoft rifle. Yeah, pretty much an air gun. Yeah.
And it might be that he never even reached for that thing. So if he never reached for it and they still blasted him, that's probably closer to second-degree murder.
No doubt, and George Gascon, he gonna push the line on them. I do believe that they will at least get the manslaughter conviction out of it. Depending on where this case is being held, a lot of people don't understand that. Wherever these cases are being held in certain cities, and when you're talking about Torrance, they 100% back their police department. So when I say that, I mean, when they become have a jury of their peers, that mean the people of, their society, people who work in the county buildings, people who work, in and around, Torrance, and they're 100% with their police department. But they may still get that, if they do the right thing, they definitely can get that manslaughter conviction done.
LA County District Attorney George Gascon announced new charges against 2 Torrance police officers in connection with that 2018 deadly shooting.
The officers opened fire on a stolen car suspect after they say that he reached for a weapon. KTLA 5's Chris Wolf live now in downtown LA with more on the charges. Chris?
Glenn and Lou, in 2019, these 2 Torrance police officers were found to have acted legally in self-defense by independent review. But today they face criminal charges following a new independent review under current LA County District Attorney George Gascon.
I'm here today to announce that Matthew Concannon and Anthony Chavez have each been indicted with 1 count of voluntary manslaughter for the shooting that killed Christopher Mitchell.
In a stunning about-face, 2 Torrance police officers now face criminal charges in connection with the fatal shooting of a suspected car thief after the former LA County District Attorney found their actions to be legally justified.
Don't move. Don't move.
Police body cam footage shows the chain of events on December 9th, 2018. Torrance police received a report of a man in a stolen vehicle. They approached that vehicle and found 23-year-old Christopher DeAndre Mitchell behind the wheel. They ordered him out of the car, but he did not immediately comply. According to a previous investigation, Torrance police officers Matthew Concannon and Anthony Chavez opened fire after they saw Mitchell move his hands toward a gun in his lap. It was an air rifle. Reports say Mitchell was a documented gang member, nicknamed Cowboy, with a long criminal history, including convictions for car theft and firearm possession. But current LA County District Attorney George Gascon assembled a team for independent review of officer-involved shootings, and he says that team brought this case before a grand jury which indicted the Torrance police officers.
I'm looking forward to going to court, seeing Matthew Concannon and Anthony Chavez put in jail.
For my own personal review, I question whether the officers were able to see the gun before the shooting. We know that even the prior review indicated that, that there was no evidence that he was reaching for a gun.
Voluntary manslaughter carries a maximum sentence of 11 years in prison. The Torrance Police Department says it is shocked by these new charges. Releasing a statement today, take a look. The department says, quote, "We acknowledge that due to the secret nature of grand jury proceedings, we are unaware of the entirety of the evidence presented to the grand jury, which led to the indictment. As that evidence is revealed, the merit of the criminal allegations will ultimately be determined through due process."
I'm a little surprised that Jackie Lacy didn't charge them, that she cleared them of any wrongdoing, and then I'm also a little disappointed that they're trying to throw him under the bus by saying, oh, he's a gang member, he's documented. None of that really matters because the cops, that wasn't an issue at the time of the shooting.
Right. I saw how they threw that in there, man. You know what I mean? And they shmudded him up real bad, They say that he had it on his lap, I didn't know that prior information at the beginning, but at the same time, at the end of the day, man, how many people do y'all arrest that have guns? I've been arrested with multiple guns, you know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, you guys know how to, deal with a guy who's having a gun. But they definitely threw him under the bus, man, to put his rap sheet out there, said what his convictions. The thing about it is when you go take that to a jury, some of them are taken to the consideration like he needed to be off the streets anyway. So that be the hard thing about when it comes to try to convict these kind of cases. When they put that kind of schmut out there on you, it has nothing to do with this incident, nothing at all. If he was on the street, he went and did his time. You feel me? And he committed a crime. He did his time. He's home now. He's a citizen, And so I'm definitely going to see how this one air out. I believe if a grand jury, had enough evidence to indict him, then they saw something that we don't know that can change all our minds.
Now you said that he had the air rifle on his lap.
That's what I heard them say. That kind of changed the game, but the only game it changed is raise your hands a little higher. I don't believe that he reached for it. Now, if I got a gun on my lap and you telling me to get out the car, to a certain degree, it's a little hard, especially like you say, if it's a rifle style gun, it's a little hard to get out the car, without either trying to move the rifle or, so I believe they took the opportunity of him just probably trying to get out the car with it on his lap, if that's what the situation was, and it was an opportunity to air him out. These are trained professionals, man. These dudes at the shooting range 2 or 3 times a week. They know what they're doing, and by no means, if a dude didn't steadily grab the gun and reach for the trigger, come on, man, you guys are professionals. I'm even better at that. I could see a dude you just say if a person do grab a gun to move it, you can look and see where he touch it to move it, opposed to if he trying to put his hand on the trigger. It take a split second to shoot a dude. You know what I mean? So if he didn't reach nowhere near the trigger, you guys, like I say, they take an opportunity just because somebody have a gun to air him out. I guarantee you, and like I say, I know people going to be like, damn, he always bringing up race. But if this was a little white boy, he wouldn't be shot. You know what I mean? Plain and simple, Alex, he wouldn't be shot, bro.
No, definitely. But I'm not 100% convinced that the air rifle was on the lap, because George Gascon stated that after reviewing everything, he doesn't believe that they even saw the rifle before they shot him.
Right. No, I heard that as well. That's why I say, but I did hear them say that it was on his lap, that the news reporter, you know what I mean? I heard them say that, but like George say, he not even sure if they was able to see it, and if it was on his lap, you would have been able to see it. So that's why I say they know something in that grand jury that, and he said they questioned that back in 19, whether they was able to see it, you know what I mean? So, we definitely gonna see how that pan out, man. And if it's some discrepancies in there, they've already found them. It's been 5 years. They know they know everything about this case by now. So we gonna see if these guys can get a conviction.
I think these cops are just scared, man. They just don't know what to do, especially at night, especially in the dark. And here's the scary thing about there's 2 sides to voluntary manslaughter. You heard the news clip say the maximum is 11 years. The minimum is 3. So you can get 3 years, 6 years, or 11 years. So if, let's say these cops are convicted of voluntary manslaughter, they can get sentenced to 3 years.
No doubt. You know what I mean? Definitely right about that, but at the same time, if it go from not being prosecuted at all to them getting 3 years, losing their careers, you know what I mean, and things of that nature, you kind of got to accept nothing or something. You know what I mean? When you look at it in that aspect, I don't think it would be enough. That's a life they took, but when you get to talking about nothing but in something, the something has to take precedence over the nothing. And when these guys see that he had, tattoos on his neck, tattoos on the side of his face, they automatically, just like you say, get nervous and, but you still got to do your job. If a man is not, like you say, reaching for a gun, we've seen mass murders, mass shooting, suspects taken into custody peacefully, you know what I mean? And these dudes just, like I say, I believe they just saw it, even if they saw it, but they just aired him out, man.
Hey, you saw how they shot down that mass shooter in that school that turned out to be a female? How the police went in?
Man, yeah.
They just dropped her, huh?
No doubt. Well, I mean, they getting tired of it. You know what I mean? So they getting tired of it, man. And depending on where you at, depending on who's in charge, depending on who's the commander in that situation, man. Some of them just saying, "Nah, man, knock them down. We not even finna deal with this. Knock them down."
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll stay on top of this story. I might even go to the trial for this case, since it's going to be in downtown L.A. And let's move on to another story. I want to talk about this another crazy Florida story. A guy named Oscar Solis killed an Uber driver. And before we get into it, I've been hearing quite a few Uber drivers getting beat up, assaulted, some of them getting killed. Do you think this is a dangerous job, or these isolated incidences?
I'm gonna go with isolated incidents, man. Uber drivers are out there every day across the nation, successfully, transporting people. You know what I mean? They might get some throw up in the back seat every now and then, or they may get, cursed out every now and then, but for the most part, I would believe that the Uber program, the Lyft programs, are successful in America. But like in the world itself, man, you're going to have some situations where the shit just don't work out, you know what I mean? And, but this dude, for what he did, this was like some of the craziest shit I done heard in a while, bro. Like, I mean, he chopped the body. Well, I'll let you play the clip, but
no, I don't have a clip. I'm just showing a mugshot of the dude.
Man, he chopped the body up, bro, put him in bags, had his homeboy come over there to help him. He had the guy that he killed from the Uber driver, he had his car key fob sitting on his wallet when he got there. It was just, I don't know what this dude was thinking. I think he might have been out of his mind, high or whatever, man, but it was unfortunate this Uber driver lost his life, just trying to either bring this dude some food or something. That's crazy, man.
Now, what the sheriff in Florida said in Pasco County, he said that this was a horrific crime. This was demonic. What he did was demonic. And, I'm going to have to agree with
no doubt.
Sheriff Chris Nocco, Nocco, that he had to be possessed. I don't know how much you believe into the spiritual world, but I believe this dude was possessed by evil spirits, man. This is not normal.
Hey, no, this was some special circumstances, type stuff. Like I said, I don't know if he was high on something at the moment, but just to have some food ordered. You still had the bag of food, and when the police came, you still had the bag of food on your dresser, man. The bag itself with the receipt in it that had the Uber driver's name. I mean, bro, it just was nuts, bro. It just was nuts. It's no explanation for this, but I do believe this is a rare situation that don't happen every day, and it just was an unfortunate one as well.
Now, here's another thing they're doing with this guy, Oscar Solis, who's 30 years old. They trying to smut him, and they're trying to say that indirectly his affiliation to his gang may have something to do with this. He joined the MS-13 in Indiana, where he used to live, and I don't believe this has anything to do with you being in a gang.
No, not his state of mind. It's gang members every day, bro, to get food brought to them by Uber Eats and other, situations. That's in Ubers all the time. That's using these systems the regular way. Pure gang members, But what I mean, just to have somebody come and then you just kill them and chop them up and, things of that, that's a whole different something else, bro. That's something else. So, no, I'm not going to say his gang affiliation per se caused any of this. Is his mental state of mind, wherever his brain was. And apparently it wasn't there because he did nothing to cover up this case in a professional killer's manner. You know what I mean? So I don't get it. He had to be, like you said, some kind of demonic spirit or something was going through his brain. I don't know, but this was just wild.
Yeah, he didn't do anything to try to cover up his tracks, to say, oh man, let me at least try to get away with this. It's like he wanted to go to prison.
Well, he going, because it's unbelievable amounts of evidence that they found, man. I mean, to the point to where, I mean, overwhelming amount of evidence, which he don't. I mean, it was evident he didn't take into consideration that, when they delivered a few food to certain places or things of this nature, these people have GPS systems either on their phone through the company or with their car, and that's what the Uber company actually did. Said that the last address where that this guy went was at Oscar Sola's house, so didn't take them nothing to get a warrant to go over there and search it, and they found everything they needed plus. So yeah, he either wanted to go to jail or he just was out of his mind. But I'm gonna say that it was something mental going on with him in his head that made him do something this drastic. This just wasn't a regular killing. So it's crazy.
Now he just got out of prison. He served a 4-year bid in Indiana Department of Corrections for assault and burglary. And you know what the people are going to say about this crime and him committing it? Like they're going to say he should have never been released.
I can't say that on this one. I can't say that they'll say that because this is if it was a regular killing, maybe if he would have stabbed the dude and dude bled out, stabbed him once and he died, or, hit him upside the head to steal the food and he died, they would say that on that kind of situation to me, Alex. Something this drastic, this is far more than somebody having a burglary conviction or any kind of assault on their record. This far supersedes any kind of regular criminal activity in my eyes. When you chop a body up, and then you got the key fob sitting on your wallet by the time the police get there, like, what was you going to do? Go drive dude car? Or did you already drive dude car? I mean, this goes to a totally different level where I believe no amount of jail time or not could have stopped what's going on in his mind, because that just was something to me that was so horrific that, I think they'll bypass the criminal history and go straight to, this dude was, completely out of his mental state at the time.
Yeah, he's gonna get sentenced to life in prison because you can't even risk letting a guy like this out again.
No doubt. And like I said, it's overwhelming evidence that I will just go on record, man. It's overwhelming evidence, bro. They collected blood. They collected, like I say, the key fob. They collected so much stuff, man. Rags and towels with the guy blood on them, they collected so much stuff that, it's almost overwhelming. I mean, at the end of the day, though, they didn't seem to do it and they can't. I mean, who's to say somebody else wasn't at his house that did it? You got some points, but at the same time, they may get a clear conviction if this dude didn't do or say the right thing.
This reminds me of a case that happened here in L.A. There was a rapper named Big Lurch who was high on PCP and killed a girl that he was getting high with, and then kind of dismembered her a little bit and started eating some of her organs. This was in the early 2000s. And
yeah, I heard about that.
That happened on 109th and Figueroa, and dude is currently in prison for killing a 21-year-old girl that apparently he ate some of her organs, but I don't think I think he's trying to get out of prison right now. Big Lurch.
Yeah, no doubt, based on, like I say, the mental state that he had due to the drugs, probably it wasn't him as a person. These drugs can make you do some horrific things. You know what I mean? A lot of these gang members and shit, Alex, people think they crazy or they nuts. No, they getting high and going to put in some of this work. They ain't sober. Some of these dudes can't do shit out in the streets unless they hot. You know what I mean? So, these cats are not the first time. I'm not gonna say Oscar Salas was high. I don't know. I haven't seen the toxicology report or nothing. But just at the end of the day, why? So this was something that's not like the Uber driver attacked him. I mean, in this situation, just why? You threw your life away over what? That's why I say it goes back for me to the mental state. Not on no gangster state. Just something different.
Man, that's such a crazy story, man. I don't know the why. I bet you Oscar don't even remember half of what he did.
No doubt. Now I've seen homies do that, and like you say, like I say, I'm not saying he was on drugs, but I have seen homie on PCP wake up in the station looking around, You know, next thing they know, when them detectives come in, you okay, man, you being charged with murder, and they don't have a clue of what happened. You know, and you lost your life basically by being high, and you know, you didn't even know what you did. You know, so shit is wild out there, man. Been a whole lot of shit happening down in Florida lately, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, another crazy Florida story. But man, let's wrap it up on this Praz story. Praz is from the group the Fugees, Grammy Award winning group. And you know, I've been watching Praz in the last few years, and I was actually very impressed with Praz. I was like, damn, this dude became this crazy business person that's making millions and millions of dollars. But it turns out he was just getting the money from this Chinese guy. This Chinese guy was breaking him off with millions and millions of dollars, and he is on trial for taking money from a Chinese guy that they used that money to get close to Obama. They used that money to get close to Trump, and apparently that's violating certain federal rules, and that's why Praz is on trial. And then he admitted that he had been working with the feds. What's your whole take on this whole crazy story, man?
Well, the story is wild, man, and I really couldn't nail it all down because it has so many different layers to it. You know, you had the layers where you was getting the money from Chinese diplomats or whoever these people was. You was acting as a foreign agent for China. That's one of the charges that you have, that you didn't register as a foreign agent, you know, for China. You know, is basically, you know, you were going through people. You were donating money through straw. What they call them, straw investors or straw lenders or whatever they are, that shoot money to these campaigns in order for these campaigns to thrive. You know, I believe he donated $1 million to the Obama campaign, you know, but he was doing this all through China, trying to set up some action for China to have some kind of influence over here in the States, you know. And the thing about it was, you know, I believe he received over, you know, or funneled over $100 million through various people and through various situations, and donated to various campaigns and things of that nature. And when it came to him working with the FBI, I believe he was working with the FBI because he was trying to inform them that the Chinese were trying to trade 3 Americans over there for one of their guys over here. You know, I don't think it was the usual snitch situation, like how dudes say, I want to set up this dude on a dope buy. I want to, you know, I'm trying to get out of jail to, you know, snitch on this dude to, you know, something of that nature. He was informing the FBI about Chinese trying to trade some people, you know, and some other diplomatic things. So I looked at it in so many different ways, man. And for him to have all that money and to be politically connected like he was, and damn, he only facing 22 years at the most, they say.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's barely facing the type of time you would think that. First of all, he was charged with 4 counts originally that was connected to that to that $1 million that he gave Obama. And they offered him a deal when he had those 4 counts.
Right. And he turned it down. Yeah.
Now, you should know better than that.
He turned the deal down.
Yeah,
he turned the deal down, and they came with what, 8 more or something after that?
8 more counts.
Yeah.
So he's facing.
He should have knew better.
He's facing 12 counts now. The jury's deliberating, and in terms of him being an informant, I was going to ask you this. Now I have a picture of the Chinese guy that was breaking off Praz. His name is Zhou Lo, Jhollow. That's one of his names. He's got many names. And
right.
And you know, I found out this guy is tapped in with a lot of rappers, and he actually paid to have Busta Rhymes and Ludacris perform in Malaysia some years ago. So he met Praz, and I guess he saw Praz was the perfect person for him. I feel like this Chinese dude needed someone to manipulate, and he knew that money would be an easy way to get someone to do what he wanted to do. And for some reason, he picked Praz out of all the other rappers that he knew.
No doubt, Joe Low got that dope. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And he actually, I think he should stole a couple billion from some investment firms or something in Malaysia. This dude got long bread. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, yeah, he came in. He was looking for some influential people who can move around. One of these cats, I believe it was him, wanted somebody to take a picture with Obama. I believe Praz actually got that done. So it was some high power manipulation going on. There was also some high power politics going on. This shit was beyond the normal average, hood scheme. This one was elaborate shit where big money was being passed around, bro. And like you say, I believe these dudes started getting people of smaller influence and seeing who could move around in political society as well, man, and took advantage of it. With the kind of money that he was giving people, Alex, it would be hard for a lot of people to turn it down, just to be honest with you.
Yeah, but shit, if you know that these millions of dollars can lead to federal charges, especially when the Chinese guy is asking you, "Hey, I need you to do this. I need you to contribute to an election. I need you to contribute to a campaign." As soon as I hear those words, campaign, election, contributions, I'm like, well, hold up. Is this all on the up and up? There's proper channels to do this, and there's no way on God's green earth I'm ever going to take $1 million from somebody and it's connected to elections and campaigns.
Well, it's different. There's a whole lot of people out there that say they wouldn't accept a truckload of kilos from, you know what I mean, the Pikes and Compton, you know what I mean, but they will, you know what I mean. So one person would be like, listen, man, we need you to funnel these campaign contributions from a Chinese diplomat that's willing to offer you $1 million, or we got this truckload of motherfucking, we got these 100 kilos over here in Compton that we need you to get rid of. Which one you gonna do? So some people be like, I take the election contribution money all day long, so it's really just based on, and not to mention, maybe when the scheme started, it didn't start off like that. Maybe it started off with some small shit, you know what I mean? Like, say if somebody came right now, say if Alex Alonso came and said, look, FG, I'm gonna need you to take this month 600,000. I need you to distribute 100,000 for these political campaigns in Los Angeles. That don't seem like it's no hell of a feat. Like, you know what I mean? Shit, okay, no problem. You know what I mean? And I'm going to get some money off the back end, I'm using straw donors and everything to get these monies in there, just signing people up, taking 1,000 here, 1,000 there, that's donating to the campaign, and we funneling the money. That don't seem like nothing hell of it to me. It just when Alex come back and say, well, listen, we working with 10 million or 20 million. Now I'm starting to be like, well, damn, I'm getting in too deep. You feel me? So it might have started off small. It might have started off with something half-ass innocent, but the manipulation from Joe Low probably was so strong, man, that he reeled them right on in and lined them up. And once they started to get that kind of money, it wasn't no turning back.
Yeah, well, apparently Praz assisted the United States government in trying to find the whereabouts of this other Chinese person that is wanted by the government. I guess they charged this guy. His name is Guo Wengui, Wengui, and this is what Praz was providing information on this guy. This guy has many names: Ho Wan Kwok, Miles Guo, Miles Kwok.
Yeah.
And it says here,
Brother Seven, the principal, all kind of stuff. Yeah.
Praz,
he had a bunch of nicknames.
Praz was tied into these guys, and this is who the United States was looking for. And apparently they just arrested him for orchestrating a $1 billion fraud conspiracy just last month. So I wonder how much did Praz help in getting this guy into custody, and is this considered, is this snitching?
Well, the thing about it was, who was Praz trying to get this person in custody for? Was he trying to help Joe Low get this guy in custody so Joe Low could take over a specific hood per se that this guy was holding down, or at the end of the day, cooperating? Ain't no getting around that. But this wasn't no regular hood shit. This seemed like some scheming and scamming. He got put in a situation where he needed to take the enemy off the street. He went to the FBI, maybe informed to this dude whereabouts so he could be arrested. So maybe Joe Lowe can profit even more, in another kind of way. But at the end of the day, yeah, you went to the FBI, you spoke to him, you tried to get a guy that wasn't in custody, you tried to help them, get the guy. Yeah, you was a rat, yeah. But it's not the average everyday situation.
Now, is it possible that Praz was doing these favors for Joe Lowe regarding Obama's campaign and didn't realize he was committing crimes? Is there some sort of story that Praz can say, look, I just was doing a favor for a guy that I met that was related to me being in the Fugees. I met him on some business music stuff, and then he asked me to do some favors, and I said, sure. Is it possible that Praz didn't know what he was getting involved in?
I don't think so. I think even the slightest dude gonna understand that when you mess with somebody from another country, somebody who had any kind of political ties, like you say, it's one thing to come say, here go 100 birds. I know I'm gonna distribute them through, LA or the US. When you get to talk about saying I got 100 birds, but I want you to get some to China, or I need you to get some to Africa. Hold on, bro. I can't do that one. So it's a point that he knew that some shit wasn't right. Some shit was out of line. Some shit was above his pay grade, and with all the money that was coming with, man, he knew what the hell was going on. Ain't no doubt about it. You know what I mean? It might have all started him doing something in the States, but like I say, once he really got his foot in there, he's a co-conspirator with these dudes, and I believe that him going to the FBI was more like a calculated move to get this dude off the street for another reason. You feel me? So that's what I think, So it wasn't your average, set up your homie because you don't want to go to jail. This was a political move to maybe, bread your pockets with more money, but at the same time, man, you informed,
And what did you say his max sentence he's facing? Because it didn't seem like a lot for all these charges.
I saw 22 years.
Yeah, 22 years for 12 counts.
Yeah, and they was giving the homies 22 years for 6 ounces of crack, and that's the crazy part about it. I'm not sitting here wishing they'd get more time. I'm just saying I wish we would have got less, or the homies would have got less, So this shit is wild for it to be what it is. You dealing with, especially like I say, foreigners as far as China is concerned to infiltrate any part of the election campaigns and all that shit going on right there, man. That seemed like that just would have been a whole big thing. You know what I mean? A whole lot more than 22 years.
Man, this just goes to show you, I've been watching Praz for the last several years, and I've actually was impressed with whatever he was doing in his post-hip-hop, post-rap career, because I'm like, this dude is making millions of dollars. He's making donations. He's doing all these incredible things. And I'm like, wow, this dude Praz was the brains behind the Fugees. But it turns out this dude was just getting money given to him from a Chinese diplomat.
Given to him. Well, the thing about it is, if he was getting it from a American senator or some kind of American situation that was doing some kind of scandal against another American campaign, say if he was getting it from the Democratic Party to infiltrate on the Republican Party, that's all U.S. Situation. When you get to talking about, dealing with foreign diplomats and foreign, contributors to the campaigns and shit like that, you talking about, influencing an election, and that's where I just think that, it should have been held in higher regard. And it may be, you know what I mean? That shit is something serious, but seemed like he would have went in, got a few dollars, got a few million and got on. But sometimes, dudes it don't go that way,
Definitely, man. And two of the guys that were in this involved with Praz, George Higginbotham and Elliot Broidy, Republican fundraiser, they both pleaded guilty. They pleaded guilty.
Yeah, they got out the way.
They got out the way. So, Praz, we're going to find out next week if he's found guilty. The jury's currently deliberating on that. And we'll tap back in next week and give you the results of that, man. Any last words before we wrap this up, FG?
Oh, no, man. You know what I'm saying? Just right here, Streets and Scholars, man, doing our thing. We appreciate y'all for listening, man. Y'all keep tapping in. I'm starting to get so many, DMs about topics and things of that nature that it's getting hard to keep up, man. But y'all keep sending them, and I appreciate it. F General 1 on Instagram. I'm still over there at FG Unleashed on YouTube. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, tap in with the Street TV YouTube channel. I'm at Alex Alonso 101. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And also, if you're listening to us on Apple, please leave us a rating, 5-star rating if you love the content. And you can leave a comment, question, review, and follow us on Spotify, Google, and iHeart for all those other podcast platforms. And on that note, thanks for tapping in with another fire episode of Streets and Scholars.